Washington, D.C. They're coming for the entirety of our Western culture, and they're coming for all of America. And you don't have, they're not shy. Just ask them.
So, Mark, when you took this case, did you know instinctively or through sources that there'd be an international connection to these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas organizations?
Yeah, we had been tracking this for about a year and a half already. We filed a similar case in the Eastern District of Virginia last year. Look, there has been a tremendous amount of smoke for many, many years. You can see the influence coming back and forth across the country. But what happens is when you hire these young, useful idiots to be your PR agents, you get young, useful idiots who are your PR agents, and they made mistakes after October 7th. They said things like, this is a quote from their manifesto, "We are operating under a unified command of Hamas in Gaza." That's really all you need to know. That was the Students for Justice in Palestine. On October 7th in the afternoon, early morning of October 8th, they released a toolkit, a manifesto, a plan of attack that literally called themselves, not in solidarity with this movement, part of this movement. And they used the same language that the killer used last week. Everything, resistance is justified by any means necessary, globalize the intifada, etc.
So are you surprised from your profession, the legal profession, that a judge said it's probably not constitutional for the president's administration to take Mahmoud Khalil and detain him in an ICE facility? It probably says, you could try to expel him, but